everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared, and in this video we're going to talk about a recent invasion of Mormon crickets in Nevada. And it caused scenes like this, like what you see right here. Pretty horrific looking. And according to Wyon News, insect apocalypse. So this is another thing that I think that we should pay attention to, especially when it causes headlines like this where they use words like apocalypse or terms like last days or biblical, things like that. So this came on my radar first from Linda in Texas. She sent me this email. Jared, I saw this story pop up and thought you might like to add it to your list of plagues. These Mormon crickets showed up in masses from time to time. There was a story of them in Washington State where we lived there about 25 years ago, not in the part of the state where we lived, so I didn't see them. I just remember the newspaper story. I think seagulls showed up that time too, like they did for the pioneers. So I guess Nevada could use some seagulls. Anyway, here's the story. So thank you, Linda, for passing this along. And I did. I decided to put this on my Second Coming timeline. I'll show you that in just 1 second. Before I do, here's the update on the Book of Mormon sharing challenge, or the hashtag Flood the Earth challenge. 6,051 copies of the Book of Mormon that have been shared so far, and 608 people that have joined. And then a new report of someone meeting with the missionaries, bringing us to 53, which is just incredible. So keep it up, everybody. I'll try and do better with bringing this up more. I've kind of like been lagging a little bit, but I'll try and keep on top of sharing this every video if I can, and then keeping it updated. Okay, so here it is on my tracker. Okay, this black entry right here, June 7th, is the earliest that I could tell that it started or that it was reported on, so I'm putting June 7th. And then it seems to be winding down and could be already complete. There's an article from June 22nd, which was 2 days ago, that says as much, that it's winding down. The sources for all the information on here are over here to the right. And then I gave credit to Linda in Texas for telling me about this story. But if you ever want to verify anything that I have on the tracker, just go to column R and you'll see all the references. So yeah, I think that it's important. First, let's look at a couple things. Okay, so these may or may not be related, but I don't need to tell you, it's been a really crazy year. So what you have this millions of Mormon crickets invading Elko, Nevada, as well as other parts of northern Nevada. But it seems like Elko is kind of the epicenter or the most populated area affected by this. 3 days later, you have the White House host the largest ever Pride event, and I did a video about that. It was horrible. Go watch that video. Don't forget we had let's see, 8 days before, or sorry, excuse me, 5 days before that, apocalyptic scenes in New York City, Washington, D.C., Ottawa, and other major cities where the Canadian wildfires were basically, the smoke from those were going over into the northeast of the country and causing orange skies, well, different colored skies really, but it looked like the end of days. And the articles that we read said as much, that it looked like the end of days. And I think that that's the important point, is that it's not so much, oh, has this ever happened again? Is this the biggest ever? I think we should pay attention to when it's the biggest ever, but it's more, I feel like signs more have to do with the observer. You know, it's not that, oh, we can explain this or this happens from time to time. It's how it's received by the observer. Because if you're sending a sign, if you're God and you're sending a sign, what matters is that the sign in the message is being received. And the thing about this story, okay, as we're about to see, this does happen from time to time. I guess the Mormon crickets they're not actually crickets. They're a type of cicada. Or was that a cicada? Oh, I can't remember. We'll see in the, I can't remember. But anyway, they go through like these periods of dormancy where they go a few years and then they all come out of the woodworks and they go back down for a few years and then come back out. But this one kind of stands out a little more than the other times. And the, the thing is, this time it is making the rounds when it comes to the news. So, for example, Israel 365 picked up on this story. Okay, they're out of Israel, written by Adam Eliyahu Berkowitz. He's the one that I interviewed toward the beginning of the channel. You have Smithsonian Magazine, News Nation. This is out of Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth, Newsweek, the United Kingdom, Daily Mail, Elko Daily, of course. YN, I'm not sure who these are, but it says India, so maybe they're out of India. Not sure. CBS News, the Weather Channel. Gosh. CBC, which is Canada. Let's see. Eyewitness. What is this? I don't know. I don't know where this is out of. CNN, another UK, the BBC, USA Today, Yahoo, Fox 13. This is the article where I found the roughly the starting date of this event. And the thing about it, let me just go back through these really quick. Look at the words that are used in the titles of these stories. Now, of course, I understand that people are going to use titles that are catchy, things that are going to grab your attention. Nevertheless, the effect that has, hopefully, on some people is when they see these words, and if they're not really religious or they've kind of stepped away from their religion, they'll be reminded about the last days. So that's why I think it's important. It doesn't matter why it's happening or if we understand why people use certain words and titles of newspapers. It's the effect that it has. So here on Israel 365, plague. Over here, the Dallas Fort Worth one, a biblical plague. Newsweek, biblical plague. Daily Mail, biblical invasion. Elko Daily, apocalypse. And then the one that we started on, YON, apocalypse. CBS News, plague. All right, and those are the ones that I have. And then in the bodies of these stories, you can see some of the same verbiage. And I think it's also significant that in this particular story, it includes Mormon in it, right? Now, these this species of whatever they are named after the miracle of the crickets with the pioneers, right? And it's interesting because they go through that in these articles. Let me show you. I wanted to read a few things. So I was interested that Israel 365 picked this up, and this is under their biblical news section. And I don't know. I don't know if Adam maybe has been looking more at things that have to do with the church since my interview with him. I don't know. Maybe he would have done this either way. But okay, Nevada hit by plague of Mormon crickets. Okay. Oh yeah, this is the website where I can't really zoom in the way that it's set up. This week, millions of Mormon crickets invaded the town of Elko, Nevada, a city of about 20,000 residents in northeastern Nevada. All right, if you don't know where that is, Elko, Nevada. I should have had this pulled up already. All right, so here's Elko. You see that? And then it's not really, like, relatively speaking, if you look at the entire state, it's actually not too far from the Utah border. Okay, so it's way, way up here. It looks like it's on, I've never been there before. It looks like it's on I-80. This is the highway that goes from San Francisco all the way to New York City, and it goes through Salt Lake City. So Elko, Nevada, that's where we're talking about, and, generally just this region up here. Okay, back to this. So the swarm was so dense that the Department of Transportation had to plow crickets from area highways because they make for slick driving conditions. Gross. All right, skipping on down. This is someone named Colette. They told the New York Post, everybody's like, this is apocalyptic. It feels biblical, and I have to agree. And I think that's this particular statement that they're using in like what they're referring to in the titles for these articles. This was well, this says the New York Post, but I know that a similar statement was made to the Associated Press. We'll look at that in just a minute. But so this person, whoever they are, I don't know if they're a member of the church, if they're a Christian, if they're religious, I don't know. But that's how this person perceived this. And I'm sure that others did too. That's really important. It's really important because hopefully it calls them up to a remembrance of God in the last days and where they need to be at before that happens. All right, skipping down. The Mormon crickets are native to western North America in rangelands dominated by sagebrush. They have a 4 to 6 year cycle. See, this is what, so it comes up from time to time, and then go dormant for a few years. The last dormant period ended in 2019, so the current swarm is not entirely unexpected. Okay, and that's not to say that it's not a sign. It's not a sign, or it's not that it's not a sign. Sorry. Okay, the Mormon cricket takes its common name from the prominent role it played in the Miracle of the Gulls in 1848, credited by Latter-day Saints for saving the Mormon pioneers' second harvest in the Salt Lake Valley. According to Mormon legend, thousands of insects were devouring devouring the crucial second harvest of the newly established community of 4,000 Mormons. Seagulls miraculously appeared following fervent prayers by the pioneer farmers, saving the crops by eating the insects. All right, and then the last little part here. Now this is the kind of like the Jewish take. I try to try to zoom in, even though I just okay. For the biblically inclined, swarms of crickets evoke images of the plague of locusts that hit pre-Exodus Egypt. This is from Exodus 10:15. They covered the face of the whole land so that the land was darkened, and they ate all the plants in the land and all the fruit of the trees that the hail left. Not a green thing remained, neither tree nor plant of the field through all the land of Egypt. And some of these pictures that we're about to see and that we already kind of did look at, they do darken the land. That is what happened in this case. According to Jewish tradition, the 10 plagues will reappear before Messiah, as hinted by the prophet Micah. Which I think that this is important because, again, anytime that I talk about the Jews, I'm always interested to see their point of view, how they think things are going to happen before the Messiah appears. When Christ does come, he's going to identify himself, and many of them will accept him as the Savior. Um, but I think it's important because I think the Lord is working with them as well, even though they're going under a false belief that it's going to be the first Messiah and that the Messiah is fundamentally different in nature and in his mission compared to how we know that Christ is and what he came to do. I think that because of the Lord's plans that he has for the Jewish people, he would still work with what they know in order to give them signs too. So, all right, continuing. I will show him wondrous deeds as in the days when you sallied forth from the land of Egypt. Micah 7:15. Jewish sources predict that all of the plagues will reappear in the final redemption. This is like the equivalent of the millennium in Jewish thought, but in even more powerful forms. And see, I feel like this is problematic right here. With all due respect to my Jewish friends and their beliefs, I think that there's just this tendency to like look to the powerful, the magnificent, the incredible, the dramatic, the spectacular, and because of that, if you're expecting a lot, you may miss out on what actually happens, like what the signs actually are. Okay, it is written in Midrash Tanchuma, homiletic teachings collected around the 5th century that, quote, just as God struck the Egyptians with 10 plagues, so too he will strike the enemies of the Jewish people at the time of the redemption. So, you know, this commentary right here, this midrashic commentary, I assume that they're basing it off of Micah 7:15, and in the commentary, based on whoever wrote that, surely it was one of the Jewish sages. They're expecting uh, basically what they expected Christ to do, to defeat the enemies of the Jewish people with by miraculous means. In this case, the same 10 plagues um, that occurred during the time of the Exodus. All right, this concept was explained by Rabbi Baya ben Asher, a 13th century Spanish commentator. Oh, there you go. Who wrote, quote, "In Egypt, God used only part of his strength. When the final redemption comes, God will show much, much more of his power." So we'll see how things play out. But at least this story is on the radar of Israel 365 News and whoever reads it. Um, and yeah, so there you go. This is interesting. Someone in Israel has taken note of what's happening. Okay, the Smithsonian magazine, Mormon crickets are creating havoc in Nevada. There were a few things I wanted to read here. A swarm of Mormon crickets has taken over northern Nevada for the past week, so causing mayhem as the insects move around the state. So I don't have a very good sense of exactly what areas are affected other than what it says here, northern Nevada and around the state. So if I were to guess, it seems like I said that the area most affected, or the most populated area affected, would be Elko. If it was affecting Winnemucca or Las Vegas, we would probably hear about that in these stories. So I'm guessing something like this circle I'm making with my mouse. I don't know. Maybe up into Idaho a little bit. In fact, I think this article mentions Idaho. Okay, the red critters can cause crop damage, make roads slick after they've been crushed, and leave a horrible stench after they die. That's nice. Oh, yeah, here's that other quote that I was talking about to the Associated Press. This is Dana Dolan of Elko, Nevada. This is a different person. Dana says it's almost like a biblical plague. So this is now two separate people in two separate articles that are viewing this in, or comparing it at least, to biblical plagues and happenings. So she told Rio Yamat and Rick Bomer of the Associated Press. Okay, here's a wonderful picture right here of the darkening of the street by all these crickets. But what it says here is katydid. Okay, so I said cicada. It's sorry, katydid. Mormon crickets are technically not crickets, but a type of katydid. They are named in reference to Mormon migrants around the Great Salt Lake who experienced invasions of the cricket into their crops. This year, the insects have been spotted in large numbers in Idaho as well as Nevada. Okay, so it is going up into Idaho as well. Although, like I said, if it reached like a larger city, and when I say larger, I'm talking in relative terms to the rest of Idaho. If it had reached like Twin Falls, I'm sure that we would see separate stories about that. So I'm still guessing probably like in this area. Okay, skipping down. This year's crickets are not the largest number seen in the area, but some of the latest to arrive. All right, moving on. Mormon crickets negatively impact agriculture, according to the Weather Channel's Ari Sarsalari. The crickets eat their way through crops in their path, causing losses for farmers, and sometimes the crickets also end up chopped up inside. Oh, geez. Great. And sometimes the crickets also end up chopped up inside hay, making the hay less valuable. Yeah. Invasions of the pests have been recorded since the 1800s, though they have been increasing in frequency since the 90s. So that's significant to note. Even though this is a known phenomena, it happens on a regular basis. It's increasing. And I don't know if I can't remember if I highlighted this somewhere, but I've read in a couple different articles that they think that what's going on right now, this particular incident, has to do with the drought that's going on in the West. Later on, it says, as of yesterday, the cricket invasion may be letting up, at least in Nevada's Elko County. However, they will linger another month or two until they mate and lay eggs. So maybe it's a little bit too premature of me to put an end to this. I'll keep an eye on it, but I think for all intents and purposes, as far as like the human impact, as far as impacting a populated area, it seems like it's kind of letting up in Elko. So I'll just keep an eye on it, and then I'll update it as necessary. Here's another thing. This is from News Nation. Cannibal crickets swarm Nevada town, go viral online. And that's important too, that it's going viral. You see here, one resident's video went viral on TikTok, leading to terror and laughter. So again, even though this is happening to a very small area compared to the rest of the world and compared to other cities, um, the effect of it is being seen throughout the world. So does it have to happen everywhere? I don't think so. I think that there just needs to be the people that need to receive this message. They just need to have the means to see it and receive it. And TikTok is one of those ways. The news, the internet is one of those ways. And they are delivering the message for those that have eyes to see and ears to hear. Okay, Lisa Matthews, a real estate resident in Elko, posted a TikTok video that went viral, leading others to react with horror or commensurate with laughter. Quote, I mean, we're using humor here in Elko really to get by. I mean, what else are you going to do? It's not like you can walk out there and be like, hey guys, let's ship it on out, Matthews said. Matthews said the crickets aren't unusual for Elko, but the swarm is unusual. Quote, Mormon crickets have been here before. It's a bigger hatch this year, and they are dispersing farther out. So this is the only indication right here as to maybe why this is getting so much news right now. I don't know if like all these people are picking up on this story because of the TikTok video. Maybe these different journalists like saw it and they're like, oh, there's a story here, and they all jumped on board. I kind of don't think so. That may have been part of it. But I think that this is key right here. According to this person, Lisa Matthews, the swarm is unusual and it's a bigger hatch this year. So that's probably why it's making the news rounds. And then I think that's all I had. Yeah, that's just the same quote from Dolan about it's almost like a biblical plague. All right, well, so that's what's going on. I'm sorry to anybody that lives in those areas that are dealing with this. It must be very upsetting. Although it will pass. And just remember, if you've watched my last few videos, try not to idealize a perfect scenario for yourself, that everything's going to go perfect or even normal, because you can idealize just having a normal lifestyle. We have to adapt to reality, and when it happens, it's not the end of the world, and you can move on, and just accept it, and you'll be okay. It's an inconvenience, but don't get frustrated. If you have like this plan, this idealization of a normal life that you're clinging to, that you have the death grips on, then you're probably in for a rough ride. If you can let go and then just let reality happen, accept it, be sad about it, but then adapt and then respond appropriately to it, then I think that'll make things easier on yourself. Okay, well that's going to be it for this one. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.